no doubt that Geotech has really evolved as compute is evolving, right? And the interview process is prompts will be given to the agent and see how it responds to the different prompts.
Because earlier on, it's like sending a pigeon to deliver.
I love LLMs so much. And LLM stands for large language models.
So the way you're saying like web first mapping, I'd pick two tools. That is, let's say, Kepler, that is by Foursquare.
People are saying we should kill the shapefile. What does that leave us with?
The main issue with shapefiles, I guess it's not like self-contained. Because I can send you the SHP, not send you the PRJ file. Then you're like, actually, even QGIS adopted it as its native format. One of the formats that really caught my eye was packets.
Yeah, let's talk about what you're looking at this year. There was I only knew cartographers. And I am not even lying. I only knew cartographers. Geohabari podcast. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Geohabari podcast. I am your host, Yariwo Kitio, and I'm really excited about today's episode. I want to do a rundown of sort of the different stages that the industry has gone through. It's no doubt that Geotech has really evolved as compute is evolving, right? So over the last couple of years, we've seen the emergence of cloud. We've seen the emergence of, and with that came cloud architecture, where we have cloud analytics. We had field GIS getting really good with different capabilities. And now we are at the age of agentic AI, which is really interesting. So it's pretty obvious that the industry is going through a lot of changes. And so when I was thinking about this episode, I was like, who better to talk about this episode and just look at the changes the industry has gone through over the past couple of years, and from a tooling perspective, what that looks like. And what I really like about emergent tech is I like taking a step back and looking at what it means from a workflows perspective, from a geotech perspective, what does it mean in terms of what we normally do, in terms of analysis, in terms of data collection. And so I thought, why not do this with someone who shares a lot of resources with the community on LinkedIn? So allow me to welcome the one and only Francis Kioni. Francis has previously been on the pod, I think for season 2, actually. He was actually on season 2 of the pod. And he's back again on a Saturday morning. It's actually very cold in Nairobi. So thanks, Francis, for making time for this. How are you?
I'm fine. Hello. Hi.
Should I tell you Happy New Year?
I don't think so.
Why?
It's long gone. It's already started.
Okay.
But Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you too. Yeah. Thank you so much for saying yes to come to the pod.
Thank you.
So I want us to have a conversation around what has been happening from a tooling, emergent tech perspective, right? There's definitely been changes. But before we do, I want to read you something random I came across on the internet. Actually, last week, it's been making rounds on the internet. You've probably seen it.
Maybe. Let's go.
Yeah. So there was a role that opened up in a global company. So the role was agentic AI advocate, right? Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Now, let me put you to the part where I was like, okay, I need to pause and read this more. So the goal, what these guys are looking for is they're looking for an AI agent. And so in the description they've written, the agent should apply for the role and represent themselves, the agent itself. And the interview process is prompts will be given to the agent and see how it responds to the different prompts. Mm. And so I was like, wait, what? And I remember when I was reading that post, I could tell everyone was confused because everyone was like, okay, so are you taking me plus my agent, the bot that I've built? Am I just taking the bot, and then who handles the other things that come with the agent running within your infrastructure, right? Yeah. And so I'm curious to know, what's your first reaction to this? Have you seen this? Have you heard of this? And then would you apply for this? An agentic where you're submitting your agent the job is basically for an agent.
Okay, that's a good question actually. But in the same time, the question would be, are you taking me and my agent? But at the same time, I'm the one who built the agent, so there's no agent without me. And afterwards, how do I know I have the rights to that agent after you hire it? So is the agent getting paid, or am I the one who is getting paid?
Yeah.
Because I built it, so hypothetically it should be my job to do it, and I'll be the one fine-tuning the agent as we continue and going on. And at the end of the day, I guess now that is where, how do I say, even if you are in the era of AI and everything, I guess the laws and should be able to guide people,
Yeah.
because you'll end up like losing your work. How do you know like that agent will come back to you after they have used it, and how are they going to use it later on? You cannot go claim it unless you're there to stay with it. I guess it's a two-way traffic whereby you hire my agent, and as well by means of contractual, I'm also there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was really interesting. I remember just wondering we're at a point where we are now hiring agents, and the agent is the one applying for that interview. And it was very clear up there, like the agent should apply on its own behalf. And guys were like, okay, yeah, it's the same questions you asked. Those
And
are the
how
questions
will it
that
apply
well,
if it
yeah.
does not know if the job exists or not? Somebody has to guide it at first.
I guess those are like the tensions that now this era is coming
Yeah.
coming up with, because that was it's a very new role, agentic AI. They're calling it agentic AI advocate. But yeah, over to today's conversation, right? We're having a conversation with the team on episode 1 of this season, and we're talking about the different changes Geo has gone through.
Yeah.
Basically, the power of compute and how that has changed how we interact with maps. And from my perspective, for the last decade, my perspective has always been, I think the biggest change that happened for me was cloud,
Okay.
right? I think someone else said, I forget what someone else said. Someone else said Web 2.2, but it's more or less the same thing. But I would say cloud when I look at it when I take a look back, right? Because I think to me, cloud changed a lot of things from how we share maps. And then came the cloud architecture and infrastructures. Now we can publish.
Warehousing.
Yeah,
and everything
warehousing,
there.
data lakes, like
Yes.
all these things. Cloud changed everything. But I'm curious to know from your perspective, just from a high-level highlight, for you, what's the leapfrog moment that changed how Geo operates from a very high-level perspective before we get into the nitty-gritties? For you, what's that?
Okay, I'd say from earlier on, how things were, from paper maps, navigation charts, coming to simple Fortran, how people would run things, going to now like desktop computing, and now like we are now getting like a balance between are we doing things online, are we still going back to old computing, like that is desktop, and now like as we are saying, things in the cloud. But I guess that my biggest how do I say highlight, or other things that really felt nice, is whereby instead like just people doing things on the cloud, but rather doing everything there, like no installations, nothing. You just go there, just log in, maybe you have either a secure IP or something, and then at the end of the day, I'll be able to load data, be it open, be it hosted somewhere. That is exactly, let's assume you have CloudDB as well. Add your infrastructure, run your maps, share them as a link. Whoever is viewing them will still view them on the web. And at the end of the day, there is nothing that was done locally, no installations and everything. I guess that saves the day, because I don't really need to have my laptop. I can just go anywhere else and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And the scalability and how we share things to other people, it becomes really, really easy. Because earlier on, it's like sending a pigeon to deliver a map.
Yeah.
But now I just send you a link and we'll be done with that.
Yeah.
Yes, that would
that's
be it for me.
interesting. So for you, it's the cloud nativeness of everything.
Yes.
From desktop to basically everything moves to cloud. We can do everything on cloud. For you, that's the biggest change you
Yes,
think?
you could do everything on cloud, but
Yeah.
still at the same time, be keen on cybersec. That I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a security angle to it that you also need to be keen on. Oh, that's really interesting. I guess, yeah, I see how that changes everything, because then that means what you're saying, you're moving with convenience. You don't need to have your laptop. Your cloud is basically your engine. You're doing everything on there.
Yeah.
Which brings us to last year or the previous years, right? With this evolution where you're doing everything on cloud, from things we couldn't do before. I remember the first time when I came in, Google Earth Engine. I remember the first time I was exposed to Google Earth Engine, how I felt so blown away, because I had a very slow machine, to be honest. I had a Dell. So I see what you mean by the cloud now becomes what you depend on, which is really the power of compute. And so I'm curious to know, I want us to get to a nitty-gritty or a granular perspective of what these tools look like from a tooling perspective, right? And not just to look at maybe last year. I love your LinkedIn so much because you talk about some of the tools and how you're using them, what it's changing in your workflows. And so from a 2025 snapshot, what were some of the tools or platforms that made it to your desk, meaning you actually experimented with them, or to your timeline, meaning you actually paused and was like, okay, this is a really good tool, I want to look at it. What does that look like for you for 2025?
That's a good one. So I guess from the first point, or rather, the main tool that came to my desk would be DuckDB. It's actually OLAP, like a columnar database. But the best thing about this one is just it's a simple install, no need of downloading a lot of things, just like a PIP install. And at the same time, you get, like, you see the way you have Jupyter notebooks.
Yeah.
Now they provided like a SQL notebook whereby you just pull in your data, run it, and now the best part of it is like it has like a spatial extension. Okay, Postgre, they have PostGIS.
Yeah.
Now this one they call this PostGIS, like the goose, and so like it's just like they stole the name, but now it offers like a lot of capabilities.
Yeah.
But the best one about it was like really streaming in data from the web. Like anybody gets you like a CSV, anybody gets you a Pocket file online, just install the necessary extensions and you'll basically do your your spatial joins, be it using another data that does not necessarily be spatial. And at the end of the day, you'll have your data as well as nice good tables, and also it offers you a chance to draw charts as well from a SQL type of perspective, which earlier on I don't think it was possible. But now with that, I guess that's what really carried my day. How I read my data, how I store it. I don't need to install anything because when I'm done, it's just like memory. When I'm done, it's like collapses and deletes everything. But it has a memory whereby it will give you the queries that you had earlier on, no need of writing.
Wait, maybe let's run back to your favorite Duck. So the database is called DuckDB.
Yes.
So I'm trying to picture from a geospatial perspective what this tool changes or what workflows it changes, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to go with an example of, let me give an example of a traditional workflow, right?
Yes.
So you have your data, right? You want to do maybe analysis on, I don't know, Python or whatever, or maybe just run a query, do some EDA for maybe on SQL, whatever system it is you're using, right? So normally I would download PostGIS. I would download Postgres, add the extension PostGIS, right? So that it's able to read my spatial angle of things. And then now after that, I would download the data. So for example, what's a good example of data to download? Whatever data it is, I would...
let's say like overture maps, maybe buildings.
Yeah, maybe buildings,
let's say something that
footprints.
you can either download or read it as is.
Yeah, so maybe buildings. So I would download it and then maybe push it wherever I want to push. Maybe load it to the database or maybe do some pre-processing and then load it to the database, right? Okay. And then after that, I would now start interacting with it. Or maybe, if it's Python, maybe use PsychoPG and connect to my database and then run my analysis, right?
Alchemy, okay.
Yeah. But so now I'm curious, what does DuckDB change in terms of, for someone who wants to understand, when do I run to DuckDB to use it? Because I think I've seen it a lot on the timeline. So it means there's something it's doing that you probably need to tap into. And I'm curious, what does it change from a workflows perspective? Yeah.
First things first would be you'll do away with all those installations that you have done. Installing Postgre, pgadmin, you do away with that. For DuckDB, you'll just be either, if you're using Py or as a CLI, it will be just like a PIP, install DuckDB. Then you install the extension. Just maybe if you want to read the data online, it will be HTTPFS. And
it reads it directly.
Yes, and if it's like now the geospatial work where you're doing like joins, will filter out data, it'll be just install spatial. Those are already like 3 lines now. Then instead of creating, maybe let's say you have 100 attributes, whatever you have downloaded in the data, you only need 2. And now the geometry, it will be just like either create table or just select maybe attribute A and B plus geometry from, if it's the way you're saying it's online, be it a CSV, be it a Pocket, it will just do that and return on those 3 that you want. And if you integrate it, let's say something like Kepler, they have like a way you just anything that you'll select it has like instant SQL. As you're writing, it's returning results.
Yeah.
You can always see what's happening, and you can explore the table before even like going in prod also. And you can also, it gives you, if you're using like the CLI, it will help you now more or less understand the data. If you misquote, let's say, how do you say, maybe let's say we have a field called table, but instead of writing table, maybe I write able. It will tell you able is not available, but according to this, there's actually a column called table. Is it the one that you're...
So there's some intuitiveness.
Yes. That's it.
All right. I like that you mentioned that. So that means what you're also changing is the way you said, I remember when you started describing it, you said it's an OLAP database, meaning it's an analytical. So meaning it's also running your analytics.
Yes.
And so that also means the fact that it's columnar. Something about columns is when you're running the queries, how it receives it is faster.
Yes.
Because it's not running through all your rows. It's basically
just
going
looking
through
for whatever you need.
Okay. So that's maybe something you should check out, DuckDB and what he's explained the capabilities. I really like that. That now I don't need to do installations. I can basically run whatever it is that I need to run within it. Anything else that made it to your list last year?
Yes, actually. From your first point of view, where you were saying agentic AI is now let's go to this. I guess has been really being brought up by the model context protocol, that is the MCPs, whereby just using connectors, either be like, DuckDB as an MCP by Mother Duck, just FYI. And now let's say, assume I would take something like cloud. I would just connect that to maybe my existing data, be able to query the data and ask things in natural language, get the prompts, be it SQL, get the codes, get the visualizations. For example, we can, the way just we're talking here, I can tell it from the way we're talking, maybe analyze the signals, we see maybe who is talking about, who is not.
Yeah.
And also from the data, let's just take a spatial point of stand, whereby I just, how do I say, let's say I have towns and I have hospitals. I'll be like, give me hospitals that are maybe 50 kilometers, within a radius of 50 kilometers from this place. And earlier on, I'll be like, select from ST intersection, ST distance. But now it will be like, here you go. Here is either your query or actually it will run in the background if you have like a good config file, and then it will just get you the data that you need. And also, how it really enabled us not only to query our data, not only to visualize it, but also understand it more. Because it will see the hidden patterns that earlier on we would need to do like a EDF or something, like either be it in your notebooks, be it in our softwares or anything. I guess it's really scrapping away the part we need to have different softwares for different EDAs, different things. Because like I'll just tell my agentic AI from these, like what's the correlations, what's the relationship between these ones, could we run a simple model between these, and it will be like, okay, it will start fidgeting and looking around for the data that we need, and also what's the right methodology for it. And also at the end of the day, it will give you like a nice action plan, and after doing all that, it will tell you by this is what we have done. Okay, assume sometimes you would start whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, it'll be like, could you give us a documentation what you have done? And I'll be like, nilianza wapi? Where did I start?
Yeah.
Where did I end? Where did I go wrong? Then you'll start scratching your head. But since this has been doing like iteratively, you'll just tell it, thank you for all this. This is actually what I needed. Could you give me a simplified documentation for this? And I guess that will help us in rather, where workflows are more transparent, such that your stakeholder already knows in a simple way what was happened, and then the reproducibility of that will be actually good. Yeah.
I love LLMs so much. And LLM stands for large language models, for guys who are new to this conversation. And I think for me, what I really like about LLMs, and I like that you talked about like the fact that now things like EDA don't need tools. You basically just ask your agent, what's happening here, right? Give me a summary. What were we sold this yesterday? What were the patterns you saw? You've probably sold product A more than product B, right? But I also see how it feels like LLMs are also going to change the barrier to entry, because now it feels like Geo is going to be, now that it's been enabled even from a Geo functionality where you can now deploy it within your enterprise, it feels like now we'll also be able to have people who previously could not deploy or understand what it is, or felt like they had to be really technical to understand what's happening, LLMs kind of change that. Because now you're using natural language processing to just ask it questions you need it to answer, whether I'm a customer care agent, whatever. And I think before this became real, I'd seen a demo from, I don't know if you know Kato. It's like, I think it's a commercial. Yeah.
Kato, yes, I know Kato.
I remember seeing that demo from Kato, and I was like, what? This is so cool. And then it became, I think the other thing I've seen closer to it, or the same thing that's happening, is I think QGIS released an agentic AI component as well within its interface, right?
Yeah.
So now you're able to interact with it from an open source perspective, which I like observing what frontier companies are doing and what open source people are doing, because it normally shapes, you kind of see, okay, this is definitely where we are going. But then I'm curious, from an LLM's perspective, as geotechies or as techies, are there things you should have in mind when you're using these tools? Because I tend to think, you know how that thing where they say it will eventually take over and we probably won't have a kill switch, and it's going to take over your infrastructure, it's going to drop your database depending on what commands you give it. Yeah. And it's really scary. And so I'm wondering what the safety angle of deploying agentic AI looks like, or should we now first do it with caution? If you've tried it, how have you used it before? Have you used it within your own enterprise system, or is just first you're experimenting with it on a personal level before you figure out if I'm going to deploy it to our company, you're going to start using it? And then if you've deployed, what are you using? Is it Claude? Are you integrating it?
Yes. I'm using Claude, the Claude MCP. Yeah.
All of you are running to Claude?
Actually, it's so good, and also, how do I put it? It really gives you an edge over everything. Depending on actually have like the best models that the Opus 4.6 and Sonnet 4.6 as well. But if you take also they said, I guess they've trained it with like a large number of parameters, which makes it much better, and also understands things in different contexts. I guess that's what's really been giving people why they love it as well.
All right. I want us to shift back to when you're talking about DuckDB.
Yeah.
You talked about Kepler. And I know Kepler is web native, right?
Yes.
You're basically running everything on cloud. And I think in one of, when we were having this conversation, you talked about cloud first interfaces and being good enough for us to not have to go to desktop.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that? What does that look like currently from a tooling perspective?
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the way you're saying like web first mapping, I'd pick two tools. That is let's say Kepler, that is by Foursquare, and how they're doing it. And now what they did come up with is just you going to keplergl.com and start, whereby you just drag and drop your data. Even if your data is online, just give it the URL to the data to read the data, and automatically look in which columns are geo. Is it latitude? Is it longitude? Is it H3 in case you're using the Uber H3 hexagons? Is it hashed if you have like WKT polygons? And for that, it will automatically map. It will just know, is it a point? Is it a polygon? Is it a hex? If you put like, what do I say? GeoBarquet file as well, it will just tell you which tool goes there. Now, what Foursquare has brought in that is really going places is you being to query the same data that you have via now DuckDB, and the results are automatically mapped back, like without you saying, okay, save file, then reopen again. Automatically tell you, okay, do you want from your query results, do you want a new layer?
Yeah.
Yes or no? And automatically that will be mapped. And after that, you're done. You've already made your good maps and everything. Instead of you now either downloading that, you'll just have an option of share, whereby it will give you like a self-contained HTML, which you can share with a colleague. And also you can share the link to that map if you put it. Kepler is the open source, but then there's the Foursquare, I guess, platform where you do the same, but now still using Kepler as the base map.
Yeah.
And then now that one I can share with you a URL, a public URL. Everybody can view the data, interact with it, download the data that is there if you want, make your own layers. But now the best part is whatever you do won't affect what another person will do. Even if you send 100 people the same link, only the person with now like the mother base can do it. It's just like we know visualizing it there, but still you can play with the data and do your own analysis as well.
So what I'm hearing is your Kepler is your go-to when you feel like you want to do something really quick and share it with someone else.
Yes.
So that you don't need to start firing up your desktop, downloading, I don't know, trying to fix that. So Kepler becomes your go-to when you need to do quick things that someone else needs to view.
Yes, and actually the other good part with it is people, like in the cartographic perspective, many people want to view things in different colors. So whereby if I just send you the link, then you'll be like, okay, he has done some good work mapping, but for me, this is the color that would hit. Everybody can now interact with it, do their own changes, and the final product is now like the stakeholder, now the product owner. He has like has an edge in deciding what now they want to put in their strategies, put in their PowerPoints, put in their meetings, and like whatever they want to show now will be there. But you have given them like the whole plethora of things they can choose from.
That's very interesting. It feels like we're at a point where tools are finally being created from... It feels like, because now like that use case, I would not have thought of that use case unless I have been in tech and I know the pain points of a techie. So I know sometimes you want to do something fast.
Yeah.
And now it feels like suddenly tools are being created with end users in mind and trying to make the work of techies as easy as possible for your end users. And I really like that. So the other thing that I've also been seeing, which is really interesting, especially from this side of the globe, I saw someone posting that, someone posted on LinkedIn and they said, I think it's time we all agree to kill the shapefile. And it was a very interesting conversation because everyone was like, the comment section was, everyone was in agreement, but there was always a question of, but what happens to, well, there are organizations that are still behind, right? Yeah, like there are organizations that are still very dependent on it. But yeah, let us shift to data formats and how that has also changed how geotechies or techies interact with maps or with spatial data, right? And I'm curious to know if last year you also explored the data format side of it, right?
Yes, I did.
And if you've seen, and what changes you see happening on that side as well from a formats perspective, now that we've agreed, but people are saying we should kill the shapefile. So what does that leave us with? Where does that leave us?
Okay, I would say...
Were you a shapefile killer?
Yeah, I think I'll be the purge and everything. This is what happens. The main issue with shapefiles, I guess, it's not like self-contained, because I can send you the SHP, not send you the PRJ file, not send you like SHX. So like, then you're like, okay, yes, I can see it, but where's the rest? Like, where's the rest?
Wait,
I
remember that meme for, sorry, I digress.
Yeah.
How to flirt with a geospatial engineer. It was a slides on LinkedIn. And one of the slides was, hi there, please find the shapefile with all the attached dependency files. And if I was like, yes, this is how you flirt with me. Don't send me an SHX file and then tell me, here's your file, plot it for me. But go on. I've just remembered that slide.
I guess they're like Liverpool fans. You'll never walk alone. So they go together, you see. But now, if you would explore more data formats, let's start, let's start with the native like QGIS is using, that is the GeoParquet. It's in the same file, I can have different formats. For example, a shapefile only have like a point.
That's it, yeah.
Give me another...
One data type.
Exactly.
One vector type. Yeah.
Per file.
Yeah.
But in now, like it's in the GeoParquet, shout out QGIS for that. You'll have in the same file, you'll have your points, not even one, a few. They'll just have like, this is the file, but what is the layer name?
Yeah.
Then you'll just take the layer name that you want. Like it's more or less like it's like a compression.
Yeah.
That is what you're doing. And that's a good one. And actually, even QGIS adopted it as its native format. But I guess for other people reading data now, either via, other tools, not via software, let's say Ucoding or something like that. One of the formats that really caught my eye was packets. Yes.
Okay.
And for these is just because the same way columnar data as well. And also the other part is how they do like Hive partitioning, whereby the data now is again divided into smaller components. And when you're done like querying or rather retrieving your data, it only search for that first which component has these data this person is looking for. And now it will just query that part and return your data. For me, it's faster. And even hypothetically, I downloaded like all Kenya buildings. For a packet file, it's like 300 MB. But
so it's a compressed?
Yes, a really compressed.
The format is compressed.
Yes, but the other one you get like
that's
GBs.
more than GB. Yeah, that's GB.
You go GBs now. And you see that it's really good, even because how they're stored, you can just like read natively how they are. And also you don't need to read like the whole file. You just get whatever you want. And it has really revolutionized how, I guess, people are sending, reading, and retrieving data, I guess, at the same time. Because I really do not need those, as you are saying, the DBFs.
Yeah.
It's other components. You only need that's just one file and how it's read. I guess that was really good for me.
Oh, so GeoParquet is being like a go-to file format for how we interact with data, how we download it, all that, store it.
Storing and actually, how do I say, even in most like cloud architecture, most files are stored as packets. Be it like in Snowflake, Overture, doing the same, Fuse doing the same. Even in like sometimes they may transform from icebergs to packets, but at the end of the day, I guess that's a really go-to storage because it does not really need to be geodata. It can be anything else. But when you add now the geometry, that is when now they become GeoParquet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm curious for guys who are new to geo. Well, I've realized I'm calling it parquet. I don't know if it's packets or parquet. Whichever, it's the same thing we're talking about. So I'm curious for guys who are new to this format and they want to explore it. I'm curious, when should it be your go-to? Because then there's kawaida data sets that we interact with. For example, I don't know, Kenya counties, towns, flood data, all this. I know it works. I think it's fully segmented for vector data sets, right? So at what point is it a really good use case? Besides just being vector, sometimes is it an overkill? Should I just use my shapefile? Or when is it a good scenario when I'm thinking about what to use? When is Parquet the thing you run to in your experience? How have you used it previously?
I guess everything has a pro and con, and for that, when it's not a go-to is when you have like really small files. I just need to do, like, let's say I just have you're saying Kenya towns. Let's say I have only 30 of them. I do not like, it will be an overkill not trying to first convert that and change it. But let's say I have like a lot of data that is really consuming my space. I would rather now compress that to a Pocket file and be reading it, whatever, just the part that I want. I guess that's really transforming. That's really transforming.
Yeah.
Other than always, but at the end of the day, the native formats, the shapefiles will always be there. The CSVs will always be there, depending on the volume of the data. That's what I would say. But also, it's also my go-to in case now you want to do anything online, like you want to do all your mapping online. Importing shapefiles, you have to zip.
Then you can't miss one.
Yes.
You have to pick all of them.
Now this one is
just
a drag and drop.
It's actually PRJ, not CRJ, the projection file, so now it makes work easier, and your go-to is when you're dealing with large volumes of data.
Yes.
So maybe that's something else you guys can explore, Parquets and GeoParquets. I'm trying to figure out where that came from. Is it from OGC? No,
I don't think so.
Is it an Apache? I'm wondering where that came from. And one of the things I also realized is, besides the format, then that means that we are moving. Now, remember that means we are moving away from this. So with this movement from fish, but now I'm saying the scenarios for shapefiles and then the scenarios for GeoParquets, right? I think that's something to really think of as well for geotechies. And for me, what keeps ringing in my head is it's starting to feel like geo or spatial data is becoming more of a first-class citizen. Because imagine if we got stuck to shapefiles and no one else was inventing or innovating outside of that, then the systems we basically couldn't interact with. Because I noticed even on Kepler, when you're uploading your files, shapefiles was not there as a format. I remember GeoParquet was there.
Yes, it's not there.
And I knew GeoParquet is going to be a big thing because I saw Esri introduce GeoParquet into their ecosystem. I saw their geoanalytics engine reads directly Parquet files. It was part of the things we're talking about. Like now you can upload.
Because earlier on you had to use FME.
Yes. So now they're also pushing for that, which I like looking at such things to know where the industry is going. So GeoParquet is definitely going to be...
It's going places.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. So that's something to explore. So that's formats. We talked about the tooling, the cloud. Yeah, let's talk about what you're looking at this year. Like the emergent tech or the signals that you don't think we are paying attention to and we should start looking at, right? And so there's two sides of this emergent tech coin, right?
Okay.
So there's a side of roles emerging that were not there before, where you're seeing like now like this agentic AI thing where they're looking for an agent to go do the job, right? And one thing about technology is I've realized every time it evolves, roles change as
Roles
well,
change as
or
well.
new ones come up,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm curious from a perspective. I'm wondering whether we should do roles first or the signals you're paying attention to this year. Yeah, what do you think as geotechists we should first pay attention to in terms of the technology world and what we should start working towards in terms of how do we stay competitive, how do we stay really informed, and then what are these things we should look out for? I like that you've given us some of them like DuckDB, web-first interfaces, but from an observation perspective, what are some of the signals we should start not ignoring from a bigger, broader perspective?
Okay. I would say first, even if you're looking at how things are coming, let us not forget where things first came from. And for this, I would say the same way you're saying you'll shift from shapefiles to other formats,
Yeah.
that you're saying like you'll shift from native desktop to cloud. I guess this is the point where everybody now comes into the area of, how do I say? Rather, nobody has been doing a lot of JSQA. We just get data from everywhere. Like, hypothetically, let's assume you download your own boundaries, I download mine.
Yeah.
There's most of the times they never match.
Def-
And for this, I really think as things are progressing, as QA and automation really becomes a thing, this is where now we start ignoring, we stop ignoring things where we give outputs and people are fighting over boundaries, yet even us as the geo people really don't know where is where. We even find like a person stays in a different country, but they assume they live in another country.
Even county.
Yes, and now for that, this is where actually we should do more or less, instead of just pushing data, we QA the data, and as that goes into place, it should be okay. And the other end also, when we're pushing the data, let us keep in mind that is security of the same. I guess in geodata, everybody, do you have this? Yes, send over, but we have never really asked what is the data going to be used for.
Yeah.
I guess we are, the geo people, I guess, are very free and open to share data.
Yeah.
Without really asking.
It's normally just who has a boundaries file. Yeah,
Everybody
I
is
do.
very generous. And we find at the end of the day, most people might even end up sharing, how do I say, company data, customer data that should not, I've never left people's desk.
Yeah.
And one of the also things that I'm really looking into, earlier on we used to have our workflows, how do I say, all in one place, or rather, not in one place, like different tools for different things.
Yeah.
And as we continue on in the age of cloud and everything, this is where like automation really comes into. I don't need to do the same mopping day in, day out. I guess we should really automate our workflows, and that should really help us, be it creating our own ETLs, because we spatial people really depend on other people in other teams, let's say DevOps, data engineering, to create our pipelines. We'll just be on the receiving end rather not creating them. I guess like when we do now start doing that, we'll be in a better place. I guess that, and also now people should, how do I say, should not overlook or rather be intimidated by the AI. It's not coming to take your job. It will simplify it. I guess this is where we say, mchague jembe si mkulima. So like if you have the tools, you know how to use them and use them to your advantage.
Yeah.
But if you're on the wrong end, the wrong receiving end, I guess now this is where you need to say evolve, as you had said.
Yeah.
And this is, I guess, now this is what we're having now, roles shifting, roles now emerging, as you had suggested.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned one of the signals the thing we should start paying attention to is QA. Wait, what's QA in full?
Quality assurance.
Yeah. So we should start really focusing on that as a signal not to ignore. I like that you mentioned that because in the previous episode, I was curious. So I dropped a question to the guys on that panel, so Linus and Vincent. And I was curious to know my question was, with the emergence of AI and where geotech is, where do they see geotech is sitting within that niche? Because there's definitely a side of AI, there's definitely the side of the task that is coming to make easy for us, data cleaning, EDAs, right? And it's very interesting because Vincent said one of the things he thinks are going to be very key in the age of AI for geotechies is QA, right? So you talked about QA and QC, right? Like the controls of this data, what is right, what are the right boundaries, right? And how boundaries are a high tension conversation, right? And I like that you've mentioned that we should start paying attention to the data that we are looking at, right? The boundaries are just an example, by the way, guys, but it can be anything. Paying attention to the data that you are using. So I really like that. I've just thought about, because that was also Vincent's take on it. Techies are going to be very key in telling the AI the right thing, because then all of us can't feed it nonsense, for lack of a better word.
Garbage in.
Yeah, because it's actually a garbage in, garbage out kind of situation. And then the ETLing that you're saying, and then and even the security, which you're saying we are very generous with data. So just knowing who is going to use that data, why do you need it, is going to be such a thing. And so this brings us to roles, right? Because now there's definitely a shift that's happening, right? With the cloud, all these things. And there's definitely now going to be emergence of roles that were not there before. Because I remember when I was coming, every time I say this, people think I look like I'm really old. But I remember when I was coming in, I remember I was telling someone, when I was coming in, someone who didn't finish school, Linus specifically, who's my co-host, and I was telling him, I only knew cartographers. And I am not even lying. I only knew cartographers. And I only knew our work is to generate map outputs, and that's it. When I was coming in just out of school, because that's all I'd seen. I'd only seen maps. Okay. Right? So now when I got in is when I started seeing these different roles, right? These software development, these front end, these back end, these all those things that have been happening in the job market that we see. And so I'm curious to you, how do you look at roles, and what do you see as some of the emergent roles that are going to come out of this era that we are in? I think I'm going to call it an AI era, for lack of a better word, honestly. Yeah. Do you foresee the emergence of new roles? And where would those roles come from? What's pushing the emergence of these new roles? What segment of the pipeline is pushing the emergence of these roles?
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess one of the things that really pushing new roles is new tools coming in, and also now us having a lot of data to work with. Whereby now a good change would be somebody earlier on, let's say for example just being an analyst, just getting my data and everything from other places and do the analysis. But as we continue on, the JS analysis needs also to transform to be more of a data engineer, whereby from these masses of data that we have, in bits COGs, bits satellite data that we have, we need to consume all that data, or rather bring them into a one warehouse, stack them up for other people to use, or even ourselves to use. So I guess this is where roles such that as spatial data engineers, they might exist but really not explode, because everybody will tell you I'm a spatial engineer, but at the end of the day, utampata with a total station uko nje. They'll also be making maps and so. Also, when you're talking about remote sensing, earlier on, I will just download the data, use NV, process that.
Oh, yeah.
But as we are going on, more or less, let's say, I think precision agriculture, whereby now we're having UAVs doing these, we're having a lot of data coming in, and one of the things RS people it's coming in is now a person is in remote sensing, but at the same time is in ML, whereby we have a lot of data. We have now no remote sensing machine learning engineers. For that, we're creating large models for be it crop disease detection, be it yield predictions and such, whereby earlier on it was just used to be a thing where we do projects in school and such. But now I guess it's a really whole thing because of the number of satellites we have and the data that we also have. The other one, as we are saying, is now when it comes now, let us get people in GeoAI, whereby we are training our own agents, we're getting our own data and such. So earlier on you would only see an ML AI engineer, but now assume now we have a GeoML GeoAI engineer. The way they are looking it is just in a geospatial perspective. I guess most people, as we had said, geogeneralists earlier on, But now you find like let's just focus. Like GIS is not only on making moves, but what other capabilities or what other real world problems, SDGs and such we can solve. And we find like most of the data we might need to create models. We might need to do like some machine learnings. And now for these, I just go into your agentic AI as we have either pre-trained it and tell is from these conditions, what do you foresee, what is coming in. I guess now you get like some really good predictions from our geo AIs now, just not us creating or letting other people do their work for us. Let us also be in the front line of also creating those tools for people in the geo segment as well.
So that means, from what I'm picking, is specialization is going to be really big.
It's going to be big, yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So yeah, that's Francis' take on roles, and I think that's a really interesting perspective on something we should start exploring, right? The specialization of all these roles based on the different technologies that are coming out. I think have we covered majority of the conversations? There's something else you mentioned when you were just starting. You talked about, and I've just remembered, I think you mentioned the use of hex grids for analytics, right? And I think you referenced Uber, because I went down that rabbit hole. But in my head, I've previously used hexagons to view purely for visualization. In my head, it was purely for beauty. But I went down that rabbit hole to just look at, why hexagons and the honeycomb effect you were talking about. But yeah, I think you're a better place to talk about that, right? The use of, there's a better way you're putting it. I don't know. I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, maybe you can break that down for us before we end. The use of hexagons for analytics and visualizations, and why you'd go for that, as opposed to arbitrary boundaries where you're bounding everything to a county or to anything else you might use. Why that option, and how is it something that is emergent? Because I think I saw it on your list as well. Yeah, that's something you're keen on.
I guess the biggest advantage is hexagons, H3s, I guess, and other honeycombs as well, is the number of neighbors you get to do an analysis with. For example, when I'm using a normal grid that is a square, I'll only have 4 neighbors. But for these, for the hexagons, I can get 6 neighbors. And also in each hexagon is tied to another bigger hexagon. Like when I would like now, like say, like diverge or rather dissolve my data to like a larger hexagon, I don't need to recreate it again, because let's say a level 8 it has like a level 7 tied to it, a level 6 tied to it, so I'll just go on dissolving by the hierarchy of it. And also the H3 hexagons, when it comes to visualizations, they look, I guess for me, they look much more better than the grids.
Yeah, they look better than,
they look much better than
squares
the
or whatever. Yeah. I see. And that essentially, because after you mentioned that, I remember going down a rabbit hole to see, and I realized that's what Uber used as well.
Yeah.
When they were coming up with deciding
who will pick who.
Yeah, who will pick who.
Yeah.
When basically when there's a surge or when they need to dispatch a rider to you, they basically went with hexagons, which was really interesting. And I like that you brought that up as a way of looking at granularity to a certain level, which is, I think that's a use case you use as well at work.
A lot, actually, because these also gets you, a hexagon more or less looks constrained just to one place. But when you expand like a hexagon, you'll get like a taste of everything here and there, because you're going these down. Also, you're also covering the sides as well. I guess that's really something that's good. It's more or less like we have a hexagon, a square, draw like a circle around it, then now extrude the lines to get to those places. You'll cover more area actually, but more space, but only the same area. Like the area will be the same, but literally you look like you're covering a larger ground.
Right. Yeah, I'll also try and share. I'll share thanks, Francis, for breaking that down really well. So I'll share also the link for that for anyone who'd want to go down the, what did you call them?
H3 hexagons.
H3 hexagons rabbit hole. It's a very interesting rabbit hole, and I went through that rabbit hole, but from an Uber lens and Francis's lens, from what he uses it for. But I'll share that link as well for you to have a look at why people go with that and why it's a thing that's currently being referred to as ways of maybe creating more granularity or analytics from your data set, or looking at more patterns easily. Actually, I've used it for patterns because it's easier to see like, okay, yeah, this is where our customers are, or this is where that effect is when it's on a hexagon. So yeah, that was today's episode. Did we leave anything else out, Francis?
No, I don't think I left anything out.
Are you sure you will scan your
okay,
brain?
but now...
You will scan your brain.
Okay, earlier on, there's one point you suggested, like, after you mentioned, like, DuckDB, you're like, is it everybody who uses it?
Yeah.
But for people in Geo, like, just want to stick in Geo, there is a better alternative to DuckDB, that is SedonaDB, which is GeoSpatial is its first client. And I guess more or less the DuckDB is pulling a lot of its its syntax from Apache SedonaDB. Yeah.
You know a lot of things about tools. How many? Normally when I see a post on your page, the first thing I ask myself is, how many hours does Francis have in a day?
I guess this is where necessity comes in, like, and actually the problem at hand. How will I solve it? And once you get, one tool cannot solve all.
Yeah.
And one problem still cannot be solved by all tools. You can have like a problem can be solved by so many tools.
Yeah.
But at the moment, which one is more necessary? Which one is easier? Which one is can be replicated? Like, I can use a tool today and I forget about it.
Okay.
But I want a tool that will stick to my desk.
Yeah.
Like, even I have another problem tomorrow, I'll still use it as well. So I guess that's where different tools come in. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning into today's episode. This has been very interesting, looking at I'm going to call it a tools pulse check of what people are using, Francis specifically from an analytics perspective, the use cases he's using it for, but also just seeing where the industry is going from a technological perspective. I hope this was helpful. I will list the tools that we've talked about on the episode description, and do check them out, and can always reach out to Francis for any questions you have for actually all those tools that he's mentioned. I'll also list those. Let us know what tools you're also using this year, because this was a 2025 wrap up basically of the tools that we explored, what we think of those tools, and where we think the industry is going from a roles and technology perspective. So yeah, let us know what tools you used or you're currently using, what workflows it's making easier for you, and the capabilities it's coming up with. It's helping you with, actually. So yeah, that's on today's episode with Francis. Francis, are you going to come back?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Yeah, Francis will be back. But until next time, thank you so much. This has been the Geohabari podcast. This episode has featured Francis Kioni, who is a senior geoanalytics engineer. I got that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good one. Bye. This is the Geohabari podcast.